Do you ever sit alone at night staring at your bank account and feel that quiet tug, the one that whispers, if I just do this right, everything will be okay? If you're someone who cares too much, that whisper is louder than most. It's not just about the money. It's about proving you're responsible, that you're prepared, that you're worthy of the life you imagine, not just for yourself, but for the people who rely on you, the ones you love, the ones whose quiet judgments you feel even when they're miles away. Investing money is supposed to feel like power, like security, but for people who carry the weight of care like a second skin, it often comes with an undercurrent of fear, the fear that one wrong choice could ripple through lives like a stone thrown into water. The first step to smart investing is invisible, yet the most important. It's not choosing stocks, not buying gold, not opening an account. It's learning to pause. Caring too much teaches us to act before reflecting, to solve problems for everyone else before addressing our own. Neuroscience calls this a hyperactive empathy response. The same circuitry that makes you feel joy in someone else's success also amplifies your own perceived failure. Before you invest a single dollar, you have to ask yourself, am I acting out of strategy or out of compulsion, out of fear or out of care? This step is about aligning your nervous system, about letting your brain settle enough to distinguish between the urgency of survival and the patience of strategy. Once the mind finds calm, the first real investment begins in your foundation. Debt is often invisible for those who care too much. You may have picked up responsibilities that weren't yours, co-signed loans, covered emergencies, or silently carried financial burdens that belong to others. Behavioral psychology explains why this happens. You equate your usefulness with your worth. Every dollar paid off reduces the emotional charge tied to obligation, and every liability removed restores a piece of freedom you didn't realize you'd lost. This is not glamorous, but it's essential. Clearing the chaos in your life is the first way you honor both your money and your heart. After foundation comes security, a step that feels simultaneously mundane and sacred. Emergency savings, a buffer that whispers, I have you, even when the world doesn't. For people who care too much, having a financial cushion does more than prevent late-night panic over a broken appliance. It recalibrates the nervous system, telling your brain that you are not always at the mercy of other people's crises, that you are allowed to survive mistakes, that your worth isn't tethered to your immediate utility. Neuroscience calls this the cognitive load reduction. Simply put, when you feel safe, your mind can finally plan instead of just react. And for someone used to carrying more than they should, this is nothing short of liberation. The third step is self-investment. Though it's often misunderstood, it's easy to think of investment purely in terms of money, stocks, real estate, assets, but the smartest investors know that time, health, and skills compound faster than most financial instruments. Caring too much often drives you to give endlessly while neglecting yourself. Yet the truth is stark. If you don't invest in your own growth, resilience, and well-being, no amount of external investment will ever feel sufficient. Learning, health, therapy, mentorship, these are not luxuries. They are deposits into your own capacity to care without self-destruction. They are insurance against the psychological bankruptcy that comes from overextension. Only after foundation, security, and self-investment should the tangible investments begin. The order matters because money amplifies intention. Investing without calm and without boundaries is like pouring water into a cracked cup. Stocks, bonds, index funds, real estate, retirement accounts, these are tools, not solutions. The unhealthy side of overcaring can make this stage treacherous. You might obsess over market fluctuations, not because of strategy, but because every dip feels like a personal failure, a betrayal of the care you feel for your future self and those who depend on you. The prefrontal cortex, the executive part of your brain, must lead here. Otherwise, the amygdala of the fear center runs the show. The cinematic truth of investing is not in the numbers. It's in the rhythm, the patience, the gradual alignment between intention and action. People who care too much are wired for immediacy, for responsibility, for action, but the smartest money decisions are not about heroics. They are about consistency. They are about letting small, deliberate acts accumulate over years, like quiet brushstrokes painting a masterpiece you cannot yet see. There is a poetic justice here. The same traits that can trap you in anxiety, empathy, foresight, vigilance can become your allies when paired with discipline and reflection. But there is a subtle, emotional reckoning that comes with this path. As you build your investments, pay down debt, save strategically, and grow your skills, you realize that money has been a proxy for care. Every overspent item, every financial sacrifice, every help you gave beyond your means was tied to your nervous system's need to prove worth, to secure safety, to mitigate fear. And now, when money is managed thoughtfully, you are free to see that value isn't in endless giving, it's in wise, intentional giving, starting with yourself. This leads to the final, almost mystical step: perspective. Investment is not about speed, it is about vision. Caring too much often distorts perspective. You feel responsible for outcomes beyond your control, and this sense of obligation can warp even rational decisions. But when you align your care with strategy, the mind begins to see connections clearly. You understand that a balanced portfolio is not just financial, it's emotional, relational, and psychological. It's a map for living with intention, a structure that allows you to care without collapse, to give without annihilating your own peace. And in that realization, the emotional weight lifts subtly but powerfully. You feel lighter not because you've acquired wealth, but because you've learned to invest wisely in yourself first. The numbers on paper are meaningful only because they reflect boundaries, foresight, and the courage to honor your own capacity. You are no longer reactive, no longer trapped in cycles of overgiving, overspending, You are present. You are intentional. You are finally quietly free to care deeply without being consumed by it. So tonight, as you reflect in the soft glow of your own thoughts, ask yourself this: if the smartest order to invest isn't just about money, but about aligning your care with your capacity, what would change in the life you are building? What would happen if you applied the same patience and strategy to your own emotional well-being that you've long applied to everyone else's expectations? Because the truth is, the first investment you make is not in the market, it is in the quiet, deliberate cultivation of a self that is resilient enough to care without breaking.